Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of Hoops with Noops, brought to you by the fine folks at FTN. I, of course, am Alex Noops Christensen, and I'm here to help you with everything in the NBA slate tonight. Of course, be sure that you sign up for FTN. A lot of great data, tools, content, just lots of awesome stuff flowing through there. You also get access to the FTN Bets Discord channel, where I put all my plays in even before I get to them here. Also add some player props usually every night. And as always, when I talk through these, I mention bets I'm going to make later. That's where they end up in that FTN Bets Discord. So be sure you sign up there so you can get the full experience. But of course, we've got lots of great stuff to offer here. And make sure you subscribe to this channel. There's not only Hoops or Noops here, but a lot of other really great free content like Mean Streets with Chris Meany. He does a great job. Some DFS shows just about every night. Again, just all part of the package at FTN. You can see a discount code down there at the bottom. But as always, check the FTN Bets Twitter account or the FTN Fantasy Twitter account at FTN Bets, at FTN Fantasy. Almost always some kind of special running there as well. You might be able to get an even bigger discount to, again, get everything they have to offer. Just a really great package. A lot of good stuff to not only help you win, but help you become a better and become part of a really good community. So check all that out. But it's Friday. It's the second night of NBA basketball since the All-Star break. We had 12 games yesterday. We have 10 games tonight. That means 13 of the 20 teams playing tonight are playing their second game in 2 nights. That's really rough, and it always makes for an interesting kind of start to basketball. If you read yesterday's Hoops with Noops, which you can always find in written form Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at FTN Bets, I mentioned that we're in the last, kind of third of the season. Everybody's got about 27, maybe 28 games left. And what that means is things are really going to tighten up. Good teams are going to play harder, play their stars more minutes. We saw that last night with one of the games we'll talk about here. So a lot to take into account. You've got teams, again, that played last night. Does that mean, they've already gotten the rust off, which is an advantage over a team that hasn't played yet? Or does the team who hasn't played yet have just this huge rest advantage over a team that was asked to play last night? A lot to pick apart here, and it's different for every team. So let's get to the games. Again, we've got 10. I'll talk about a couple that I have bets in, and of course the rest, as always, in Not for Noobs, where I try to just give you a lay of the land and let you know why I'm not betting the rest of the games on the slate. But let's start with the game I do like. The Toronto Raptors visit the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks are 7-point favorites. The total is 245.5. This is the Hawks' first game after the break. The Raptors played in Brooklyn last night and played a great game. Absolutely demolished the Brooklyn Nets. Was able to rest most of their players. RJ Barrett is listed as questionable. He's a game-time decision. Better for the Raptors if he does play, but I think it's a team in Toronto where they're kind of in a dead zone. They're not bad enough to want to tank to try to get down to the bottom of the league in terms of winning percentage to give them the best possible odds of getting the top pick. They're too far back. But at the same time, they're too far back to make the playoffs. So it's tough to figure out what their motivation, except when I look at this team, they're really trying to build around Scotty Barnes. And this is an opportunity for them for 27 games, new coach. They're trying to fit in some new pieces to see how this all works, to see how it goes in the offseason. So I expect them to continue to play hard. They played a great game in Brooklyn last night, was really impressed. And again, tough second night of a back-to-back, but a young team, again, didn't play a lot of minutes here and goes up against a Hawks team that has struggled to cover numbers all season. The worst bet you could make is just the Hawks. You're down just a little over 21 units as you bet the Hawks at every closing spread. They're just really rough. And when you start to look at some of the data behind it, you see the problems with their defense. They have the 11th best offense, which is pretty good, but the second worst defense. And when you have the second worst defense, you need a great offense, not a good one. So they get into these games where they, good in the first quarter, good in the first half. I think their record is 500 just through the first half there, but they're 7 games below 500 for the full game. That means a lot of times they're getting leads or having games be close at half and just falling apart at the end. And that's what happens when you can't control the game defensively. And I think that's what we're going to see tonight. This Toronto team is in pretty good shape. Again, not too worried about the fatigue here. And I think they're a team that can attack this Atlanta defense, score points, and keep this game inside the number. I only have this as like a 2-3 point game for Atlanta. They deserve to be the favorites. They're at home, little better roster, playing for a little bit more here in terms of seeding in the play-in tournament, making sure they get to the postseason. But Toronto's a solid team. And again, not too worried about the fatigue here. My numbers like this spot for Toronto. I think it's a good matchup and a great opportunity to attack Atlanta, who's been bad against the spread all year. Maybe tonight's one of the nights they cover, but I'm certainly not expecting that. Give me the Raptors +7 in Toronto tonight. Another game here, the Phoenix Suns go to Houston. The Rockets 4-point underdogs, the total 233.5. Both teams on a back-to-back here, and both teams lost. The Suns played a tough game in Dallas, lost there. The Rockets got beat pretty comfortably. Didn't play their guys too many minutes. Really, not one single player on the Rockets played more than 30 minutes last night. Whereas you look at Phoenix, Kevin Durant played 40 minutes. Booker played 39 minutes. There was no Bradley Beal. Beal is listed as doubtful here tonight, as is Yusuf Nurkic, their starting center. It's a back-to-back, and I know I just bet on a team in Toronto that's on a back-to-back, but I'm going to go against a Phoenix Suns team here that is a veteran team. And again, the impact of that back-to-back is a little less off the break, but 40 minutes basically for their two stars last night in a tough game. We know how good Houston has been at home this year. One of the biggest differences in terms of home and road splits against the spread. You're up about 8 units almost blindly backing the Rockets at home, down about 7 blindly betting them on the road. So you just see it. They control the pace better at home. Their defense is better at home. Everything about this looks like a good matchup for the Rockets. Phoenix is a better team, but I make this game pretty much a pick 'em. Again, given the rest spot, no Beal, no Nurkic, it's going to be a short roster for a veteran Phoenix team that already struggles to have enough guys to play every night. So I think this is a good spot to back Houston. Again, tough game for them last night, but back home, everyone should be okay. Not too much fatigue for them against a veteran team that they should match up well against. I think Phoenix struggles tonight to win this game by margin. Give me the Rockets +4 here. Now, 8 games here quickly. Again, not for noobs. Games that for whatever reason I'm not betting. I might be betting them later, but maybe it's now, maybe it's later. It's, as always, 10 NBA games. It's hard to find an angle in all of them. Starting with my depressing Philadelphia 76ers. They host the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavaliers 4-point favorites. The total is 228. The Sixers have been a mess without Joel Embiid, and we expected them to be worse, but not this bad. They have really struggled without Batum, without DeAnthony Melton as well. It suddenly becomes a very thin roster, and you're leaning on guys like Ricky Council IV, who just aren't NBA quality players. Now, had Batum play last night, DeAnthony Melton is slated to play tonight, which will help them long term, but short term, it's a tough matchup. And I would back the Cavaliers here, and I might do it a little bit later, but Donovan Mitchell listed as questionable. The Cavs played last night, a tough loss in Toronto, a lot of minutes for their guys. So I'm going to wait and see if Mitchell is in and we get a chance to bet Cleveland here at -5 or better. I'm going to do that. Make sure you check again the FTN Bets Discord. But for now, we can't make a bet here until we know what's going on. Definitely can't bet the Sixers. It's Cavs or pass, but I have to pass until I know Donovan Mitchell is playing. The Washington Wizards go to Oklahoma City. The Thunder 16-point favorites, the total 241. Washington lost by 20 in Denver last night. Really tough game for them. Oklahoma City beat the Clippers by 20-plus points. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was fantastic. A really big game for him and his chances to win the MVP award. Also a big game for the Thunder. They are now the sole team in the second place in the Western Conference, just a game behind Minnesota, and now a game and a half above the Clippers with the tiebreaker. Last night's win gives the Thunder the tiebreaker there. So a big spot for them. Might be a down spot for a lot of teams, but that's not what the Thunder do. They crush bad teams, especially at home, even in the second night of back-to-backs. They have depth here. They have everything they need to beat this Wizards team, but I'm not laying 16 points. That's too many. I show even a little value on the Washington, who, as always, and I've said before, can make enough three-pointers at any point in the game to get this close, but usually do well against teams' backup units, and the Thunder have as good of a bench as anybody. So I'm going to pass on this game, even though I lean to the Wizards. Just a tough spot for them. The Clippers, who I mentioned lost last night, are in Memphis tonight. The Grizzlies +9, the total 222.5. Really tough spot for the Clippers. Their guys played a lot of minutes, could be tired tonight. You might see some people rest, but they've got a deep team and can win this game comfortably, even without one or two of their stars. The Grizzlies playing their first game back from the All-Star break does have Jaren Jackson and just a bunch of G League guys. There's just not a lot of talent on this roster, and Memphis has done well. They've won games. They've covered against the spread. I think it speaks to the quality of the coaching and just the fact that teams continue to overlook them and shouldn't. They still need a good effort to beat this Grizzlies team. They're not going to beat themselves. the Clippers are a good team, well coached, well organized. I expect them to win this game, but I just don't know what to do with that spread of 9. I could see the Clippers winning this game by 29, let alone 9. But at the same time, we've seen the Grizzlies, especially at home, kind of snooker teams like this, get close at the end, even possibly win these games. So it's just kind of a mess. I'm going to let it go. Next game up here, the Miami Heat, in their first game back from the break, go to play in New Orleans. The Pelicans won last night. Played well, looked good, but the injury report's just really messy in this game. Tyler Hero is questionable. Terry Rozier is out. If both of them are out, you're really struggling to find a good guards here on this Miami Heat roster. For the Pelicans, a deep team, but both Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson are questionable. If one of those two guys can play and Hero is out, I'll probably back the Pelicans. If both of those guys are in, we'll probably back the Pelicans, but we just don't know. So again, get into that FTN Bets Discord channel. I'll put any bets I have there. It's probably Pelicans for me, but I just have to wait to see who's actually playing. The Milwaukee Bucks play the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Timberwolves -4 here. The total 225. Should be an interesting matchup. The Bucks beat the Timberwolves pretty handily at home about 2, almost 3 weeks ago at this point. Minnesota should match up well here. They're a big team, should be able to control the game with their defense. I think that's a big advantage here, but just a little concern. Both teams coming off the break. The Bucks and their coach Glenn Rivers have had a week to try to work on some things, so I think that will help a lot. You should see a smoother, more consistent Milwaukee Bucks team tonight, hopefully. So just too much unknown here. Lean Minnesota, but I'm going to pass and just kind of enjoy watching this game. Two games here that are just really messy, just different versions of themselves here. And we'll start with the Denver Nuggets. They go to Portland, 9.5-point favorites over the Trailblazers with a total of 218.5. Denver Nuggets played last night at home, beat the Wizards by 20. Nikola Jokic, I don't know, sets the record. It's hard to figure out that, but first player in NBA history to have, I'm sorry, I meant a first player, but now has a triple-double against every team in the NBA in his career. This is a spot where, again, kind of similar to the Clippers in Memphis. In the next game we'll talk about, the better team here in the Nuggets does not need all their players to win this game. Can do that comfortably without pushing their guys. So hard to trust them to cover a spread. But at the same time, I'm not interested in backing a Portland team that, although they don't really have any reason to tank, they're just too far away from the top spot in the lottery there. Don't really have a good enough team to win. So this game's kind of a mess. Not going to bet this. And again, similar reasons, kind of all the same stuff. The Warriors here, similar to the Nuggets, played last night. Don't need their best players to beat this Hornets team. Charlotte playing better. If LaMelo Ball can get back, they might be an interesting team to back at some point, but still just a really bad roster. And again, can we trust Golden State to play everyone and care enough to cover this 13-point spread? No. Can I trust the Hornets to somehow be not bad enough to cover this 13-point spread? No. Just a couple games that are really messy. And the last game, again, kind of similar to this, but a little bit different in that the Lakers played last night, lost, but did not have LeBron James. LeBron comes back tonight in a matchup against the Spurs team that played a tough game last night. Everybody in San Antonio, 30-plus minutes, 5 to 10 minutes more than most of these guys average. I expect possibly Wembanyama to be out tonight, maybe another couple players. And again, with LeBron coming back, the Lakers should win this game comfortably. I just can't get to a number this big at -10. I have this closer to 8, 8.5. So show a little value on the Spurs, but again, expect them to rest some players. I just can't touch this game. So that's what I think of the 8 games I'm not betting. Again, the 2 that I am, I like the Toronto Raptors here, +7 in Atlanta. Not worried about the back-to-back. Think the Raptors will play some good basketball and be able to keep this closer than expected. And I like the Houston Rockets playing the Phoenix Suns, a veteran team, on the second night after a tough game. Durant always looks worse after 40-minute games. I think he's going to struggle tonight. The Rockets back at home. I like them here +4. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Again, thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and please leave a comment below. Let me know anything I might be doing better, or if you have any other questions about games, I'm happy to answer about anything. Another game that maybe I'm not betting and you had a question about, a prop, something like that. Would really love that. So thanks again. I'll be back on Monday with another edition of Hoops with Noops. Best of luck until then.